This tutorial will show you how to use the brush and pencil tools along with the brushes palette. This tutorial assumes you already have your picture open in Photoshop. Select the brush tool from the toolbar. Click and drag to paint. Note that the foreground color will always be used. To change or edit the current brush tool, select the arrow. Change the diameter by adjusting the slider. Adjust the slider to make the edges of the brush more or less opaque. Close the dialog by clicking in the image or clicking the arrow again. Now click and drag in the image. Notice that this brush stroke is bigger and not faded like the last one. You can change the opacity here. Create another brush stroke. Notice the difference between adjusting the brush hardness and the opacity. The hardness affects only the edges of the brush, while the opacity affects the entire brush. Now we'll learn about the Brushes palette, which can be opened by going to the Window menu. Select Brushes. This palette allows you to make many adjustments to your brush. You can select another brush preset. Create another stroke. You can see more options under Brush Tip Shape. This will allow you to change things like the diameter, angle, and roundness. Or you can adjust the spacing. Notice that this brush stroke is less dense. You can adjust the shape dynamics here. This gives you more options to choose from, such as size jitter, minimum diameter, and roundness jitter. Adjust the slider to change the angle jitter. Use the slider to adjust the roundness jitter. Click here to see scattering options. Adjusting the scatter setting spreads the strokes out more. Increasing the count makes the strokes more concentrated together. Adjust the texture settings here. You can select a texture and adjust the settings. Turn off any options you don't want applied to your brush by unchecking the box. Select Dual Brush Settings here. This gives you settings to change, such as diameter, spacing, scatter, and count. We will uncheck these options for this tutorial. Adjust color dynamics here. You can adjust the hue, saturation, and brightness jitters by moving the sliders. Adjust other dynamics here. This allows you to change the opacity and flow jitter. You can add noise, wet edges, an airbrush effect, smoothing, or protect the texture by checking any of these boxes. Now click and drag in the image to create a brush stroke. Right-click and select the pencil tool. Click and drag in the image to draw a line. The pencil tool is similar to the brush tool and has many of the same options which can be selected in the Brushes palette. This is the end of the tutorial. You now know how to use the brush and pencil tools and the Brushes palette in Photoshop.